Hey, welcome back to the show, the wrestling show. We're keeping it real, goes right. Welcome back to Real Take Wrestle Talk live here on the YouTube channel. That bottom banner is wrong. I am Omar Qureshi, and I'm joined as always by Trevor Souton, the barman. What's up, Trevor?
Souton. What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. You
Bobby
know,
Bo-
just I'm We're doing good. If you're joining us for the first time, we're gonna be breaking down everything from WWE Backlash, previewing that event because WWE has to have multiple WrestleMania named pay-per-views apparently now. That's the new thing, that's the new mandate that's come down. We're gonna be talking about Dark Side of the Ring, both the Brian Pillman episode that aired last week and the Nick Gage episode that is airing this week. I know Trevor's gonna be excited to talk about that or get into that in a little bit.
Can't wait.
We'll also be discussing, there you go. We'll also be discussing AEW Blood Guts, reviewing that. We'll get our thoughts on that. AEW also in the news. They're returning to touring. They're returning to having fans at Daly's place as soon as in 2 weeks at Double or Nothing. So a lot to talk about. But Trevor, we start with yours and mine's favorite wrestling show of the week. It's time for Raw! Last night on WWE Raw, absolutely nothing happened except Jinder. Here's the most important thing to remember about Raw. You will never spend more time learning nothing than watching 3 hours of Raw. Like, that would be literally the biggest waste of time you can do with your week is watching Raw live the entire way through.
I can totally agree with that, and I went to culinary school. And anyone in the business knows what I'm talking about.
As Booker T would say, in this business knows what I'm talking. Totally off topic, right off the bat. By the way, totally off topic. But I was watching one of these old TNA. When Booker T was in TNA in the Main Event Mafia, Homie was doing a beatdown, but he took a microphone with him and he was commentating his own beatdown. And he was like, and Booker T with the legs and the right and the left and the right.
You bring that up. Do you remember? I mean, you probably do. Do you remember the old Saturday Superstars where Jerry Lawler used to wrestle a lot? And he would literally take the mic to the ring and commentate everything he did.
Yeah, hell yeah, you can do that when it's your own company. You can do whatever the hell you want. Jerry Lawler, he literally could have Memphis could have seceded from the United States.
They definitely could have.
If Jerry Lawler had his way, if Jerry Lawler wanted that way.
I don't think he actually wanted to do it anymore at that point, though.
Oh no, he still wants to do it. Come on, like he still wants to. Jerry Lawler loves to see himself in spandex and doing the iron fists. And
I think he's the only one that wants to see that in spandex stuff.
Look at the king. He's fine on Friday nights. But anyway, sorry about that. But Trevor, on Raw, we saw the return of unhindered Jinder Mahal. He returned with Veer and Sankey by his side. These two upstarts from India that he's brought over. These two call-ups from, I believe, NXT. And look, he beat Jeff Hardy in a one-on-one match. Did Jinder Mahal in 2021. He cut a promo before the match talking about how he's going to remind everyone in the WWE universe about why he is a former WWE champion. And look, say what you want about Jinder. We have said a lot of things about Jinder, both good and bad. But one thing we can say is when Jinder Mahal is doing anything, it is interesting by default. So what do you think about this? You know, he's got this new squad behind him, and these are like two big, tough people. And it's not like the Bollywood brothers who were they were more agile, cruiserweight types. These are big men. What do you think about this? And, beating Jeff Hardy right off the bat.
So is Shanky and what was the other one?
Veer. Veer was the one.
Veer used to play baseball, actually. Veer was one of the first first Indian baseball players. That movie about what was it Million Dollar Pitch, Million Dollar Arm, was about him and Patel, another guy.
Mm.
It
Oh
was
my God! Are you telling me about Indian cinema?
Hey.
This is...
I'm sure you knew this. I'm sure it was a bedtime story. But no, like, I mean, these guys are this guy's an athlete, a super athlete. He played for Pittsburgh. It was the minor league team, but he's definitely an athlete. Last time he played was 2016. He pitched the first couple innings, no hitters. I mean, yeah, like, I mean, he's solid. He's definitely solid. I have not seen him wrestle. The research I did on him, he was in NXT, like you said. Shanky, I don't know much about. I don't. But it's good to see Jinder Mahal. It is good to see Jinder Mahal. We've talked about Jinder on the show. Of course, you like Jinder. I mean, I don't hate Jinder. I think what Jinder has done from turning into like a tiny pipsqueak into this massive man has been amazing. Yeah, I mean, I like Jinder. I think he's one of those guys, like many of WWE's guys, that his gimmick kind of fucked him up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
Which
think
one?
Exactly.
Well,
all of them, actually. I mean, the best one was the modern day Maharaja. That's the best one. But I feel like it's one of those things like, oh, we saw him do this, we saw him do that, and like, now we're supposed to take him seriously. It's kind of like the Hardy Brothers when they came up and they were jobbing on Saturday Morning Superstars, or they were jobbing on like a episode of Raw to like Earthquake or Undertaker, guys like, you know, right. Then you see purely sexy Michael Hayes come in and like, oh, Michael Hayes, he's a fabulous Freebird. He's supposed to make him better. No, we still don't buy them at all.
Right.
But no,
I
like,
mean, yeah.
I'm glad he's back though. Seriously, I'm really am glad he's back.
Hey man, look. Here's where I have always stood on the same point with about Jinder Mahal. I've stood on the same ground the entire way through. I think Jinder Mahal has some of the best facials in WWE, and by facials, okay, get your mind out of the gutter, kids. I mean, like, facial expressions in WWE. You know, he's got that like quality heel look to him. Like he looks like somebody that, you know, is like you want to beat up. He looks like somebody who is like up to, like, you know, evil things. Like, he's again up to the facial expressions he puts on, like that. Like, he's got the best, like, you know, snarl, I would say, in the business, and that's a huge part of like selling a match. And look, I think the Jinder Mahal, or the original title run with him, I'm not gonna go all the way and say, oh my God, it would have worked and like it would have gone to the moon and he would have been like the super, because like that's not like the objective of Jinder Mahal winning the title. Jinder Mahal was a heel. Like, heel champions generally, unless you eventually plan for them to be baby faces, they're not supposed to be like, you know, oh my God, transcendent, you know, like superstar, like, you know, like good guy, whatever, right? Or like, they're supposed to be either transitional champions or they're supposed to be a threat for a heel to chase. But with Jinder Mahal's original title run, dude, he had like 3 straight matches with Randy Orton.
Right.
Like, come, that is the worst person to immediately. You're pushing someone huge. Love Randy Orton, but Randy Orton is like the death spot, like in your championship run.
At this point, he definitely is.
Like, and again, I'm sorry, it's not like, and this isn't disparaging Randy Orton. Like, Randy Orton's one of the best, most skilled wrestlers there actually has ever been, and in-ring performers there's ever been. But the bottom line is, with Randy Orton, he's boring. At sometimes he's boring to watch, and when you can tell, like, when it's phoned in, and especially when you have like someone like Jinder who's like just coming up at that point in his career, probably would have been better suited to put him with AJ Styles at that point,
Right.
or and there's ways you can work around it. You could add a triple threat match with Randy Orton and AJ Styles. He pins Randy Orton and AJ Styles chases the championship or something. I don't know. Like, I don't work there, but goddamn, they could have done better. But like,
you said, I don't work there, but I should have.
I should, man. They should pay me. But no, I think it could have worked. But what I do think can work here is I think Veer and Shanky can work. They looked amazing. Veer especially to me looks like he's going to be like money in the WWE. And I think Jinder Mahal, dude. Well, you know what's underrated about Jinder? He cuts amazing heel promos.
He really does.
And all he has,
really does.
And the best part is now he can come back 2-3 years later and say, I am the former WWE champion, rub it in everyone's face. How all these people, Earthquake, I love. I was about to list former WWE, superstars who never became champion. First name out of my mouth was Earthquake. But
we talk about him a lot.
Mr. Perfect, Earthquake.
Yeah.
You can name a bunch of them. Ted DiBiase, people who were Hall of Famers.
Was Ray Traylor ever a WWE champion? I don't think he was.
These people who were all these great Hall of Famers who were never WWE champion. Jinder Mahal could say, I am automatically better than these people because I have won the WWE champion, because I've defeated Randy Orton, a 14-time champion. I've defeated Shinsuke Nakamura, one of the best champions in Japan. I would go all the way, and that's how you would eventually get these young guys over. So
right.
I think it's great. Again, this was there's a reason this is the only graphic I made for Raw. This is the only thing I found interesting on that show, dude.
This was the only interesting thing. So he actually won. Was it main event? He showed his face last week. They said he was there. They start mentioning it. It was rumor mill, and then it was actual news that he was coming back. And I want to say it was one of their shows that we don't watch besides Raw. But he was there, and they saw his new group besides the Bollywood Boys, which is absolutely racist as fuck, by the way.
Bro, it's the alliteration. It's all about the alliteration for WWE.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, he showed his face, and he looks good. He looked like he's slimmed down at least 10, 12 pounds. And he slimmed down a little bit. His neck looks like it's in good health. He looks good. And the boys he has with him, dude. Shanky is a legit 7-footer. A legit 7-footer.
Yes.
That can move. Oh my God. I hope they use them right. I really hope they use them right. If they use them right, this could be the next Hurt Business that doesn't break up.
Oh yeah, you just wait till you just wait till they end up what was it? What was that team's name? Was it Down Low? It was the one with Tiger Ali Singh and D'Lo Brown. Oh my God! It's like all right, your Royal Rumble spot has been taken by who? Drew Carey. Who is Drew Carey? That was 2001.
Wait, you guys are successful. You guys are successful, right? You're doing great. You're bringing us money. Look, we're gonna break you up.
Oh my God. Oh man. Hey. Also, hats off to Jinder for getting back in the shape. I know he was on an off cycle earlier.
He was.
Yeah. Hey man. We gotta. Hey man. See when you get time off, you got more time to. Not gonna make. We'll talk about it off screen. You know what I want to get to? What I wanted to get to for a long time, Trevor. AEW Blood and Guts. Let's talk about it. Last week, AEW had their Blood and Guts, their version of the War Games match, which was the closest version to the real War Games match that we've had since WCW folded in 2001. This was a great match. This was an old style, very, very hardcore wrestling match. Sammy Guevara and I believe Dax Hardwood started the match, and then everyone entered afterwards. It had that old style feel, and you know what was great about it? throughout the match, it felt real.
Yeah.
It's one of the few times, because these are very fleeting moments nowadays with kayfabe being eliminated, that wrestling felt real. And that's the biggest, I think, compliment you can give up to a match like this. And we'll talk about the finish in a minute, but I thought the match, the way it was laid out, was great. You know, it's always great to get the heel advantage. That's like, you have to do that. And then it's always great for, you know, like, because it helps build people like Sammy Guevara. I thought the introduction of blood was, you know, apt, because like, you promise blood and guts, you have to at least have blood. You know, maybe not the guts. I don't think anybody really wanted the guts, but I thought it was great. I thought the execution of the match was great. And the only thing I found annoying throughout the match before the end was the amount of times they went to commercial, which I understand on a TV show. It's harder to control that. But like, I think they went to commercial like 3 times, and like the feet, and like they had the box in or whatever, and then that broke off for like 2 minutes at a time sometimes. So that was annoying, I'm not gonna lie. I wish they had worked something out, like maybe, you know, the last 2 commercial breaks were like bought and paid for by some other advertising. You know, there's always stuff you can work out like that. But I thought the match was great. Thought this was like the best War Game style match we've had since the 1997 or 96 War Games match between the NWO and the new 4 Horsemen. I thought, and I loved it. This automatically became one of my best matches of 2021. I just want to get your thoughts on it.
So, like I was saying earlier before, you know, got on camera, I swear Tony Khan listens to us. I swear he does. Like, we said it almost simultaneously. He listens to us. The NWO 4 Horsemen match, greatest War Games ever, in my opinion. The fact that they handcuffed all of 4 Horsemen and then beat the dog shit out of Ric Flair.
Yep.
And used that as pretty much a bargaining chip was amazing. And what did MJF do? He threatened the entire inner circle and said he would throw Jericho off if they didn't give up. Like, if that's not almost the same thing, then my name is Matt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was crazy. It was so good though. Like you said, the match broke off as an old school top style team versus team match. And I've said this from the beginning. FTR reminds me of the Brain Busters. They remind me of Tully and Arn Anderson. They have always reminded me of them, even when they were in WWE. They remind me of the Brain Busters. Like, and then you have Sean Spears. Sean could be one of the other members of the 4 Horsemen. Like, they remind me of the 4 Horsemen so much. It's kind of crazy. It was just such a good match. The only thing that I thought was kind of off was that last bump at the end, that last spot at the end. I thought that was a little unneeded, and I thought MJF came through a little too stronger than he needed to be. I thought he was doing a Miz, and we all know what that means. But I thought it could have did without that, but all in all, the match was great. It was a great match. It stole the show for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be honest. Blood and Guts was the show. It was an amazing show. I thought the match was obviously great. Like, we've already put that over as much as we can. And the finish that they did, it was honestly the best finish you could do, because if you're going to do a callback to War Games, you might as well go back to one of the best finishes we've ever seen from that entire match. You might as well go back to that 1996 finish where, like, Ric Flair was getting his brain busted in through the cage door while everyone in the 4 Horsemen was handcuffed, and then they were forced to surrender. And then the NWO ended up hurting him anyway. That's exactly what we saw, and it was perfect, because you know what it does, Trevor? What it does is, psychologically, it makes MJF look like a smart heel, which there's very few of those like in pro wrestling today. And I think he needs to be a smart heel in order for him to progress into his career. And I do think that MJF benefited from this. We'll talk about the bump at the end in a minute because that's going to be its own like segment. But
yeah, it needs to be. It definitely.
Yeah, it will be. But I think that the moment where he had Chris Jericho there and then Sammy Guevara just said, "No, we surrender." Perfect. That's like perfect storyline, storytelling in wrestling is perfect on every front you can go on. I thought, and my other big takeaway from that was you remember how I was talking last week how this would be the best finish because it would make the Pinnacle look like threats, but at the same time it wouldn't make the Inner Circle look weak. It's exactly what you accomplished here. And then you can continue this feud later on into Double or Nothing or into even All Out or whatever, right? So there's multiple ways you can go here, and you also delivered on the match. So again, thought it was great. If I had to give it out of 5 stars, I would give it 4. I would give it like 4.5. It was a damn good match. Yeah,
definitely. Like you said, the storytelling was amazing. It again, like we said last week, it made the Pinnacle look strong, but did not make the Inner Circle look weak. It just made them look like human beings, which is fine. You know what I mean? Because that's what the Inner Circle is going for right now. They're trying to put on this whole, face act, which is fine. I'm cool with that. But yeah, it was such a good match. Such a good match.
Agreed. You know what was not good though, Trevor? Or what some people thought was not good. A lot of people had a problem with the bump at the end of this match. So a lot of people thought when MJF had Chris Jericho like at the side of the cage about to throw him off, and then Sammy Guevara says, "No, we surrender. Match is over." A lot of people thought when Chris Jericho was pushed off by MJF, the bump looked less than spectacular. Now, I want to preface what I'm about to say by stating that obviously you don't want a guy to legitimately take a bump on concrete, especially when he's like 50 years old and been doing this for 30 years like Chris Jericho. That's not a good, smart thing to do. It's not as a wrestling fan, you don't want to see that. But that being said, was the cardboard, like steel, whatever cutouts they had necessary? Yeah. And was it necessary for Excalibur, as he's being thrown off, to say, "Oh my God, he's gonna get thrown off onto the concrete"? Like it's very similar to me what they did at AEW Revolution. They kind of overpromise, like just one step too much. They overpromise one step too much, and it's just like you don't say concrete and then and then expect people like that. You don't do that. Come on, just say "Oh my God, he's gonna throw him off. And then when Chris Jericho takes the bump, there's not that expectation he's gonna land on concrete or it doesn't take away that suspension of disbelief which existed throughout the entirety of the match. There were great spots in there for me, like the spot where Shawn Spears did a chair shot to the head of Sammy Guevara. It was mind blowing. That's one of those moments where you're like, oh shit, this wrestling is real. And obviously they found a safe way to do it. But that being said, I thought that you could have made, here's the thing. I understand he should never take a bump on concrete. That's dumb. Take the bump on the wood. That's fine. Just make it look better. That's not hard. That's not too much to ask for. I think it's just make it look better.
And I totally agree with you. That was my point too. And also the fact that the Inner Circle looked lackluster when they were calling the Neds over. Come on, he's over here. There was no sense of urgency there. You know what I mean? So everyone who watches wrestling knows that wrestling is fake, most of it. But the thing is, make it look real. You know what I mean? The Inner Circle was hey, come on, he's hurt. They weren't frantic or anything like that. There was no sense of urgency there. And of course, like you said, you saw the fake metal peel up. You're really, dude? Come on, Tony. You got more money than that. It was just,
you had money to sign Tim Tebow. You had money to get get better production.
You have Tim Tebow on the Jaguars. You have him in this. It was just one of those things. Like, I mean, and to some purists, I can understand where it took something away from the match because, like, I'm sitting here watching the match. I'm like, yes, this is great. That's a great ending. Like, it's almost like identical to one of the greatest War Game matches. And then you do this. Okay, so it wasn't great. It was not great at all.
Yeah, and again, I think it just comes down to production value. Like, it just, look, you didn't have to take a bump on concrete, didn't have to take a bump on steel. No one's asking for that. And if you are asking for that, then fuck you. I mean, honestly, if they had not said concrete and if they had just kept like the wood part, like the crash mats, whatever, I thought it would have been fine, and then you could have played up the sense of urgency, like, oh my God, Chris Jericho might have broken his back.
That's what I'm saying.
Drive that home, yes. Like that's where I agree with you on. Like the lack of urgency was also present, and I think with the Inner Circle, like they could have, that's where you ham it up. That's there's like, you know, I know there's overacting in wrestling. Like, there has to be, because you have to get across that this is a real like emergency. Like oh my God, this 50-year-old wrestler who's been wrestling for 30 years just took a bump off a cage onto a stage, onto wood, whatever. You don't have to say wood. You have to onto a stage, onto the floor on the outside.
Right.
Duh, keep it vague. And then, and like, he might have broken his back. And like Chris Jericho, and yeah, it's, I don't know. Like again, I think that's like, I think those might have been like maybe growing pains. Because like, look, one thing we need to remember, these people, like Sammy Guevara, like Santana and Ortiz, like they're young, especially in their television wrestling careers. They're young, so I think like maybe, I mean, I know they've been running with Chris Jericho for a few years now, but I think that
Hager is up there though, right?
Hager's in his like mid-30s, but he also has like almost a decade of experience in WWE, but so it's not so much on him, or it is, I think, more so on him. But he's also the monster. I don't think he's going to be the one playing it up. It should have been Sammy, if anyone. Yeah. But regardless, you know, it happened. I thought it did. I'd be lying if I said it didn't take away from the match a little bit, because it did. Yeah. But does that mean the match sucked and it was completely ruined forever? No. I'm still going to go back and watch that match and enjoy it. And then, you know what? I'm going to look back at the bump and just be like, wrestling.
Exactly. This is what happens in this business.
As Booker T would say, in this business. It's like my favorite.
But I will give credit where credit's due. Shivani and both JR, veteran moves, they tried to play up the injury a lot more than it was. Because if I'm not mistaken, JR did say, oh, he could be broken in half. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Just real quick, I want to say one thing about Shivani. I think it's weird. I think Shivani's holding back. Like just watching him all the time, I feel like he's always holding back. I feel like he starts to say something, and then, you know, he's just like, oh well, he like, and he just stops. I'm like, and you're kind of like, look, Tony, let's be honest. Love JR before everyone gets to know Tussie. Love JR. Love him on Dynamite. All that. JR doesn't speak that much on commentary. He speaks kind of like to give legitimacy to certain spots and whatever, right? He's there. He's kind of like a stabling voice. Excalibur's doing a majority of the talking. Then it's Tony Schiavone, and then JR is coming in for, like, you know, calling the rest of the match. Right. But I think Schiavone kind of needs to take like a little bit more of the reins. He needs to be a little more confident out there. And so that's speaking as someone who actually likes Tony Schiavone. I was one of the very few people who liked what he was doing in WCW. I was one of the few people who likes him in AEW, apparently. But I think he's a great announcer. He's got a great, like, legendary, like, announcing voice. And I just think that, you know, like, I don't know what it is. I'm not in his shoes, but I want to see him, like, you know, kind of maybe just like speak out a little more and just like, you know, just let loose, like take the reins off and just go. Because, you know, sometimes I feel like in the commentary teams, because there's a lot to be talked about the AEW commentary teams. It's not perfect. Right. But I think sometimes they just like it's like they start to go in one direction and they just completely stop, and it's weird. Like you have that you have too many like awkward pauses. I feel maybe that's it, but
I mean, I feel the same way. Like I've always liked Shivani. I've heard even since WCW, I've heard people say Shivani was not the star member of that commentating team. It definitely wasn't Mike Tenay. Like who else was it?
Bobby the Brain Heenan phoning it in every week. Love Bobby Heenan, by the way.
I mean, love Bobby Heenan, and I thought Shivani and Bobby Heenan together were amazing. I even liked Larry Zbyszko, but it's just one of those things when you're like, if I'm really gonna listen to who is the better commentator, it's Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone had the better voice. Tony Schiavone had knowledge, but don't get me wrong, when it came to him and Larry Zbyszko would say, hey, this is this and that, and he would call the moves.
And then as Tony Schiavone speaking, Larry Zbyszko would just start waving to the fans.
No, out of nowhere. He's just like
do the one thing. If you're ever like in any drama, TV, acting class, the one thing you're always taught to do or taught not to do is turn your back on the camera or turn your back on the audience.
Larry Zbyszko was so. I mean, and the thing is, Larry Zbyszko was a great wrestler, so it doesn't make sense why he was so desperate for attention when he was fucking commentating. Like, but he would like every chance to get, like, just get his.
He Hoganed it. He literally Hoganed it. Brother.
But a great example is Bobby Heenan and my man Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes would do commentating all the time, and like he would never beg for that 15 minutes of fame because like when you talk about War Games, when you talk about WCW, you talk about cage matches, you talk about Dusty Rhodes. You don't talk about Larry Zbyszko, unfortunately, and that's what it was. It wasn't that Larry Zbyszko was a terrible wrestler or anything, because he wasn't. If wrestling fans, if you've never seen him wrestle, get a chance, look up some old tapes of Larry Zbyszko. Great wrestler, great technician, amazing guy. But he just wasn't Dusty Rhodes, and that's kind of what it was. He wanted his 15 minutes of fame, but he was not a bad commentator.
Yeah. I remember, so speaking of Larry Zbyszko, let's give him his due. Larry Zbyszko, I think, had one of the best matches. So I went through this like binge a few years ago where I watched a lot of old Bruno Sammartino matches.
Oh, absolutely.
And one of the ones that stuck out to me, like I'll be honest, like you have to kind of watch wrestling. You can't watch it in the lens of like how wrestling is today, because if you do, you're gonna be disappointed. But one of the best like worked matches I ever saw of Larry Zbyszko or of Bruno Sammartino was his match with Larry Zbyszko, Rage in the Cage, 1980, Madison Square Garden. Wow. Yes, I'm a nerd. But I only remember the important stuff. But so like he had some of the like best matches. Like that was like one of the best like matches from like that era of wrestling that I had ever seen. Like. And I watched all the Inoki stuff and then that kind of stuff, and like that's good, but man, like they worked a match, that's like ring psychology was king that back then, like and we've kind of gotten away from it now, but to see something like that, it's like night and day, but you can appreciate the art. And Larry Zbyszko, literally, like anyone who has anything disparaging to say about Larry Zbyszko wrestler, fuck off. He's just like, they don't call him the living legend for no reason.
Exactly, for no reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So big ups to Larry Zbyszko. Just less, more of this and less of.
I'm actually glad you're wearing pants today. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Hey, man. Yeah, that could have gone in a totally different direction. But you know what else is going in a totally different direction? This show. So let's move on. But before we do, remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever new videos released. I like this graphic. It kind of reminds me of like very mint berry crunch flavor of
bastard.
goddamn pal.
But it does kind of remind you of like Captain Crunch or something.
Yeah, like you want to. I feel like I want to go out and eat some like cotton candy ice cream. It's just looking at this. Anyway, let's talk about AEW
Double. Where the
Double.
fuck that came from?
I don't know either. So AEW Double or Nothing is set to have fans returning at full capacity. Tony Khan announced this week that AEW Double or Nothing in 2 weeks will have fans returning. They're going to try to sell out. They've had some trouble selling tickets, but I feel like they're going to be able to sell out basically for their first major show with a full house back. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Florida doesn't have COVID restrictions. It is what it is. But it is nice to hear that, we're kind of getting back to the point where wrestling companies are starting to tour. AEW announced that they're going to start touring again in July. They have some dates in Austin, Dallas, and Miami. There's also other announcements from WWE. They're going to start touring again, hopefully in August or possibly July. So we're kind of getting back to these touring schedules for these companies. And, I think it's going to be good because I think we're getting to a point now where things are better with COVID, hopefully more under control. So yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on this and touring being back and Double or Nothing being in front of a full house and how that might impact the show.
So this has nothing to do with actual wrestling at this point. But so DC also announced now that they're going to do the same thing. They're going to try to get back to just about full capacity at bars and restaurants, things like that. So I think it's the trend pretty much going around. And part of me thinks it's a little too soon. It thinks it's a little too soon. I understand we want to get back to some normalcy. Trust me, I hate wearing a mask while I'm bartending. I hate not having people at my bar. It just feels wrong. As a bartender, that's what we do. We conversate. And it just feels wrong running drinks to tables. That's not what we do. But in hindsight, is this something that's being rushed? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it kind of feels like that.
So here's the thing, and where I fall on it is if you look at where we are with just vaccinations,
right?
We're above 50%, I think, as far as people vaccinated with fully vaccinated, I believe, and I think that's a good trend, right?
It is,
but states like Florida, states like Texas have said full houses, welcome, whatever, no capacity limits, all that stuff, go. Do what you want to do. And again, that is their prerogative to do. I would say this. One thing that we saw was, and I hope that wrestling companies like AEW and WWE kind of, maybe do something different than what UFC did. At the UFC show, we saw 15,000 people packed into a full house earlier last month, with half the people, or actually less than half the people, because only half the people were actually had masks, and then another less than half probably wearing them. So not many people wearing masks, and that just it's still, I think, too early. I genuinely think it's too early. And one of the things that AEW, I think they have an advantage with, is the fact that Daly's place is an outside facility, and we know that the virus spreads less outside. It's harder to spread outdoors, and they usually have a mask mandate for people coming in. Hopefully they continue to do that. I think if you're gonna do it, that's the safest way to do it. Just be safe. You can, and again, I'm not opposed to it. I think we are actually very close. We're a lot closer than we were last month when UFC had their show, because that was, I still am gonna, to this day, I will go down saying that was irresponsible in April to have 15,000 people indoors at that point in Florida. It was irresponsible of UFC to do that. But I think we're getting closer. I think by July, hopefully, we will be at a point where that is better, for places to run these shows. And again, it also comes down to if you are someone who has not been vaccinated, right? And you choose to go to one of these shows, that's a risk. It is a risk. And I think just to avoid it for the safety, I personally, now you do what you want to do, because I know people have very strong opinions about everything. I would say just get vaccinated, peace of mind. Let's get back to like normal, because it's been too long. It's been too damn long. You know?
So as one of the few people, well, not few people, one of the many people that have high opinions about the vaccine, and I'm not going to go into it because I really don't feel like
not with our audience, not with the Kobe Covington fans,
because we have a lot of Marks and a lot of Trump supporters. So that's not PC. I'm sorry. I apologize. But
goddamn pal, I gave him so much money. What's wrong?
I mean,
he shaved my head at WrestleMania. Goddamn it!
If you're a Kobe Covington fan, you're a Trump supporter. Anyway, so like I won't get into it, but I'm one of those people that at first did not agree with the vaccine. I did not, but I want my life to get back to normal, and my family is completely vaccinated. And it felt good to go ahead and give my mom a hug for the first time in a while. So, I encourage people, especially people like myself who deal with public, like I'm a bartender, like I've said many, many times, to get it. You know what I mean? Even if you don't totally agree with it, like I don't, at least get it so other people have a peace of mind. But if you're going to talk about UFC, we got to talk about WrestleMania. WrestleMania was the same thing. I did not agree with that many people together like that.
Yeah, that was, but that was a mess for a different reason. So here's the thing. The only good thing you can say about the WrestleMania thing is the fact that it was outdoors.
Yeah, that's it.
But that's where it ends, kind of, because they had literally everyone right next to each other. Like, right. I was just like, Vince, that is not how social distancing works.
I went back and I watched parts of that WrestleMania, and like there were times where people were so close they were like hugging. And like it didn't even seem like they were actually related, like or knew each other. You know what I mean? Like it just seemed like they were just there watching the show. It looked like an old wrestling match before COVID even had started.
Yeah, that's actually what that's actually a good thing. It's actually like that's what it did remind me of. But regardless, be safe. That is the real take.
That's what we're trying to say.
Real take consensus. Be safe. We're very close. We are actually very close. Scientific miracle. We got this far. Be safe.
And now enjoy yourself. Have fun. Watch wrestling, but just be safe.
Yeah, and you're probably gonna come after us in the comments anyway. So who cares? Anyway. But I did want to talk to you about how this potentially would affect, like, the COVID things aside. How do you think this is going to affect the dynamic of the show? Like, because I think personally the show is actually going to be a little bit better. Obviously shows are better with fans, but to see, like, I hope they have like the camera angle actually showing the fans, because if you're going to have them, you might as well do it. Like, showing the fans there. I think it would just be very uplifting, because it was kind of like the same feel of WrestleMania. It was a little weird, honestly, at WrestleMania, but it was also like, you kind of felt like things were getting back, and it felt like, pre-pandemic wrestling again for a little bit. And and I think same thing. If you're gonna do it, I would just say, like, I want to see it. I hope they have the same camera angle set up that they had, like, before, like they had for New Year's Bash and then Fyter Fest the year before. I think it's gonna add to the show. But what do you think?
So let's take into consideration that AEW is the first wrestling promotion that actually had fans at was it like 20%, 10% capacity in the first place. So they're like, you're getting the wrestlers used to being in front of a crowd. You know what I mean? Like they had some crowd at the what match was that? The electrified barbed wire match. You had people at that match, which we won't talk about that match. But you had people at that match. So you've had people at certain pay-per-views, which I think is a training pretty much training wheels to get the wrestlers back to performing in front of people. They used to perform in front of their peers, which is totally different than performing in front of the audience, things like that. But of course, it's going to make the product better. It's going to make the product better to watch and more entertaining. But I think AEW, again, and this is not sucking Tony off or anything like that. This is just saying that AEW does things a little differently than WWE does. They've already introduced a small amount of fans. So I think the bigger amount is just going to make them perform even better than they already have. It's just going to help them a little more. Like what you saw at WrestleMania, don't get me wrong, was absolutely amazing because these people haven't performed in front of a live crowd in a year. So it was absolutely amazing to see them just go out and just give it their all. Like we've said time and time again, Sasha Banks and the EST of WWE did an amazing job of trying to keep their composure because you could see what it meant to be in front of fans and what it meant to make history like they did. But like it's something else. It's something different. And nor me nor Omar can honestly, or any of you guys. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys are wrestlers or perform in front of crowds or whatever, but none of us really know how serious or how much that moment meant, or how much this Double or Nothing is going to mean to these guys either. Like it's we don't know, but I think that AEW has done a good job of weaning them in slowly but surely. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think like the other thing that kind of might get lost in a little bit of this is like the fact AEW has probably worked out all of their like guidelines at this point. Like the and like because like that's a kind of a kink to get used to, especially when you're pulling off a big event like that. So I think that they probably have benefited from that. I think. The wrestlers obviously have still had to play to the crowd, and they've been playing to a crowd of, between, I think it was like, what, they started with like 200 to now 1,000 plus fans, and they've been playing to these crowds, so they're kind of used to doing that. WWE, they've been doing it in a Thunderdome, brother. So it might take a little bit getting used to for them, and again, like, I'm not saying, oh my god, Drew McIntyre doesn't. Of course, he knows how to work in front of a crowd. Like, yes, I'm talking about maybe the new people, maybe some people. It's gonna be a little bit of an adjustment. I'm not gonna say like it's gonna take 6 months for everyone to get back to where it was, but I mean, there might be some hiccups, and it is what it is. But I do think that it's going to be good. As far as watching the show, it's as far as being a fan of like the product. It's gonna wrestling with fans is always better, and AEW's doing it outside. AEW's shown that they're safe about things. So fingers crossed. Hope it goes well. Hope everyone's safe, and I can't wait because there's some big matches that are hopefully going to be announced this week on Dynamite for Double or Nothing. There's some big matches going to be announced next week. So fingers crossed. Cannot wait.
Can we mention the well, you call them whatever you want to call them, but Rusev versus Darby Allin match? That's gonna be amazing.
Ooh, Miro Crush.
Miro Crush. That's gonna be amazing. And actually, we're gonna have this week Orange Cassidy versus
the bastard.
Pac. So that's gonna be a good one too. That's gonna be a great one.
Yeah, and you see that little stare down that Cassidy had with Kenny Omega?
I loved it, actually. And you know what's funny? I felt as good as Omega is on the mic, I felt like he was cold that night. I felt like that night on the mic, he was a little cold, or maybe because he just wrestled before. I don't know what it was, but I felt like his promo wasn't as top-notch as it normally was. You know what I mean?
I thought, what I thought about that promo? It's weird. I feel like it's wrong to say he was phoning it in because that's not what I'm trying to say.
Right.
I feel like he was just maybe he was going through. I feel like he was maybe going through the motions a little bit, But I feel like it didn't matter because, like,
Right.
it didn't matter, like, because he was still on point. Like, Kenny Omega was that good, and it was. And look, him like taking the glasses away and like,
them on the,
it was great. Look, Kenny Omega, 10 stars. Everything
he's
he does.
money right now. Like, I don't think Kenny could make a mistake at this point. Like, Kenny is that good at this. At this point in time, Kenny is that good. He is arguably probably the best wrestler in 20,000 years.
I saw this man in Japan in 2011, I think it was, wrestle a 9-year-old girl, work a match with a 9-year-old girl. Okay, it was a work, but and it was entertaining.
It was.
It was crazy. Kenny Omega can literally wrestle a fucking broom. And it will be entertaining, and it will be a quality match.
And
like, he is that fucking
weeks.
good.
You've said this for weeks. He could literally wrestle a broom. You've said this exact thing for weeks. Like, Kenny Omega right now is probably one of the best wrestlers I've seen on TV. Like, I mean, there are other people you can put there. Always other people you can put there. Like, you can also put Offspring, which we've talked about many, many times.
We will never talk about again because fuck New Japan's copyright policies.
Exactly. But you can also put what Drew McIntyre has done. You can put what fucking Roman Reigns has done right now. Like, but when of course John Moxley. But when it's all said and done, who's gonna be standing at the top? Fucking Kenny Omega.
Kenny, by God, Omega. The best wrestler of the past 10,000 years. Gut, Hackenschmidt. Yo, oh my God. Don Callis is funny too. I'm gonna look like, dude, every time I watch like that promo back, like I watched like 3 or 4 times, I'm just like, dude, this is actually one of the best promos I've ever seen. And like, it did require a lot. Like it was great. It was great.
It was.
Yeah.
It definitely was.
You know what else was great, Trevor? Our fans, when they like, share, and subscribe this channel, we got daily videos every day. Yep, daily sports videos every day. I also got daily wrestling videos, clips of this show, and much more coming out. We're gonna do takeaways from Dark Side of the Ring, Bryan Gage. For this week, we're gonna be talking about it too. Sunday, I'm gonna be doing a live stream for Backlash or WrestleMania Backlash. We'll also get into our WrestleMania Backlash predictions and all that jazz. But first, before we get to our WrestleMania Backlash predictions and breakdown and preview, let's talk about Dark Side of the Ring, because we already talked about part 1. Part 2 of the Brian Pillman Dark Side of the Ring documentary aired last week, and it put a bow on the story that a lot of people knew, and it also introduced us to another story that many weren't familiar with, and that was that of what happened to Brian Pillman's family after he passed away. Now, just a quick review of some of the things that happened. It broke down how Brian Pillman dealt with his leg injury after a car accident. The documentary talked about how it was difficult for him to get cleared to wrestle in WWE. It talked about how it was an injury that kind of plagued him throughout his time at WWE, and how it affected his health, his mental health, and his dependency, some would say, on his substances and mostly medication. So they talk about that. They discussed the heart attack in Minneapolis he had, and when he eventually passed away on the day of the Bad Blood 97 event. And then eventually his family had a lot of trouble afterwards. It was a very eye-opening, Dark Side of the Ring. It's very much like I don't want to say it's anyway similar, because it's two different stories, but the tone of it very much reminded me of the Benoit 2-part series, it kind of built up built up to this crescendo. You thought it was building up in the first part, and then you see this little turning point at the end of the first part, and honestly a lot of it was downhill in the second part. They obviously talk about Pillman's got a gun, but you could slowly tell, they were breaking down how the last few years of Brian Pillman's life were, and and the aftermath. But what did you think about this episode? What did you think about Brian Pillman's story, and what does this mean for his legacy also?
I think a lot of Brian Pillman fans are a little at ease to a degree, and a little and a little still a little upset because I feel like there were some things answered, but there are a lot of things unanswered. You know what I mean? And like the heart attack, because that was the if I'm not mistaken, he died right before the Gold Dust match, and I remember watching that pay per view, and they said that Brian Pillman wasn't at the ring, whatever, and then like halfway through the show, which is what JR and King were actually good at, was delivering bad news. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, but anyway, they were kind of good at that, and they said that Brian Pillman was unresponsive. They found him in his apartment building. I mean, it was a hotel room, and he passed away. I remember thinking like what could have happened, because I liked Brian Pillman. I won't sit here and say he was one of my favorite wrestlers because I didn't watch a lot of WCW, but at the time anyway. But I did know who he was. And I thought he was a great wrestler. I couldn't wait for him to be cleared to wrestle in WWE. And I got my wish, but I feel like what we saw of Brian Pillman wasn't Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
He was a shadow, you know what I mean? And I honestly think out of all his fans that this documentary hit hard. If I don't know if anyone watched AEW Dark today, but his son was wearing his dad's trunks, flying Brian Pillman.
Wow.
Trunk. Yeah, and they were wrestling in a tag team match today. I was watching before I got on here, and they looked good. Him and Garrison looked good. The Varsity Blondes, the Hollywood Blondes, they look good. And he was wearing this, and even Excalibur mentioned, and Taz both mentioned that he was wearing his dad's trunks, and they also mentioned the Dark Side of the Ring documentary as well. But yeah, I mean, I think like I said before, I can't say enough about Dark Side of the Ring. I think they put a light to like sore subjects, pretty much subjects that that are not hard to talk about, especially in the wrestling industry. But they do a good job with it, and I like what they did with Brian Pillman. I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Sad, but good. Very informative.
What Dark Side of the Ring does best is give you as close to a full picture of someone's wrestling career, for good or bad or both, in a lot of cases, and get that story out there on the official record so that everybody knows the most important details of everything, and have a good background about that person's life and career. And they did it again, because that's what they do. And I think that this is a documentary, this is a two-part series, whatever you want to call it, that needed to happen in order to not only like let people hear, like, who are alive now, who weren't available or didn't have the ability to see Brian Pillman in his prime, or see the potential that he had, or even know about these backstage stories. A lot of them got to see it. And that's the best part about these documentaries, because now the story of Brian Pillman, for better or worse, is out there. And like in a lot of things in life, not only wrestling, but life, it's complicated. And that's something that I think people are just starting to see. And it's good, because Brian Pillman, like we don't have to beat around the bush. He wasn't a perfect human being. No one is, right? But what you can't ignore is that the dude cared about his kids like no one else. Like, he was out there doing it for his kids, and his kids talked about how no matter what, they disagreed with what his dad did here and there, but he never ever let them feel unloved. He never let them feel wanting for something. It was only after his death where they went through some financial hardships, and not my place to blame anyone for that. Not my place to like really talk about that. I think the documentary did that, and they can speak on that. And if you have not seen the documentary, go check it out. Like now, it's on ViceTV.com for free. Go check it out. It's worth the watch. It's an amazing piece. And I can honestly say that Brian Pillman might be like, you know, the biggest, like, it might be the biggest what if story in wrestling. Like,
Yeah.
I like, man, because that gimmick was so hot. Like, if
It
you doesn't
was.
get into that accent, that gimmick was so hot.
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing.
My only, and it's weird because they were talking about it in the series, in the documentary, how JR was kind of like, hey, Brian, maybe you should think about switching over to announcing or switching over to commentating. And, you know, I was like, dude, what if Brian Pillman became a manager? Oh, my God.
Exactly.
Just that would have been insane. Like, you could have launched an entire different career, but it's also one of those things we'll never know because I don't think Brian Pillman at that point, especially, was going to do that because it's very similar. And again, it's unperfect example. I think it's very similar to like Daniel Bryan when he was kind of forced to retire, and he kind of fought it. He fought it for like over a year, and you know it was only until like, you know, he kind of came to conclusion, like, you know, it takes time to come to that conclusion, and he was just like, okay, I'm retired. It is what it is. But even then he tried to get back. But I feel like it takes you a while once you've especially when you just reach, like, you know, that potential and you're just like, oh my God, look the things I could do now, and then it's all kind of taken away from you. You know, it's one of those things where you're kind of spiteful, I think, and then that's probably what Brian Pillman was facing. He was probably a little spiteful about how the hand that he was dealt in that moment. So either way, though, Brian Pillman gonna be remembered as one of the best of all time. Yeah. And like, dude, he's just like amazing wrestling. So the story of wrestling cannot be told without Brian Pillman. That much is true.
Absolutely. Going a little off course real quick. We mentioned his drug addiction to painkillers and things like that. I think unfortunately that ruins a lot of like athletes in general, not just wrestlers, the athletes in general. Like going to another sport, Troy Aikman used to mention how he used to pop painkillers like Tic Tacs after his concussions and things like that, and his broken leg. Like I honestly,
Brett Favre, another NFL,
Favre's another one. Like even Owen Hart used to say how many times he popped painkillers. Shawn Michaels was addicted to painkillers. Like, I mean, I think, and this is going off course, and I'm only going to be here for like a few more minutes, but I honestly think that wrestling and like other sports need to implement the use of other methods of taking care of the pain. Like NFL has been doing a petition for like 5 years now for the use of marijuana as a pain medication. Like, I honestly think we need to look at something better because like it's not helping our athletes. Yeah, it's not at all.
Like it's like, look, whatever your views are personally about marijuana, that's fine. Right. But and again, the NFL and WWE, everybody, if you're in sports, if you're in a profession where pain happens, like in wrestling or in football or what have you, you have to at this point look into it. You have to look into it. Like it's just. I think that's like a more societal issue too, but like you individually as companies need to be ready for, you know, the future, because the future is like eventually it's going to be legal. And if you're going to ask an athlete, would you rather be addicted to pain medication, like these pain pills that have been proven to be addictive, that have been proven to, to potentially cause heart attacks and other effects like that, to, you know, some cases even ruin lives, man. Like, and if you had them choose between that and like this other method that, you know, has been proven to be less toxic, less addictive, and actually accomplishing the method of relieving pain, I mean, you would think it's a no-brainer, right? And again, personally, think what you want, but if you're running a business and you want players to be healthy, you want athletes to be functional, you want them to be You want them to have healthy lives outside of what they do, and forget it. Okay, forget all of that because we know it's all about money at the end of the day. You want to build a better brand. You want to have a less toxic brand in sports in general. Get rid of the pain pills and focus your efforts elsewhere on pain reduction because there's a lot that can be done. There's a lot of studies that are out there already. There's a lot of studies that should be done now. And again, I just think you're right. You're 100% right, actually. It should be looked into because, man, it's just how many more stories do we need? Like, there's no reason, like, there should be, like, people in their mid-20s already being addicted to pain meds for like, the sports they play. Like, come on. And especially when – and then you're going to suspend them for getting popped on a test for marijuana when – it's just it's hypocritical. Like it's been proven that's one of it's.
I mean, it's also one of those things. Like, I mean, I haven't done my research when it comes to this, but I don't know how connected. Well, I know what CTE is, but I don't know how connected. Like, because I know they give pain meds for almost everything at this point. So I don't know if marijuana could help that particular situation, but like, I mean, how many people have you heard like die and they do the autopsy and it's because of CTE? It's because of the multiple concussions and things like that. And unfortunately, that's something that can't be diagnosed until they are dead. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, Chris Benoit. Like, I mean, if you watch the Dark Side of the Ring documentary, the part of the brain that CTE affects with Chris Benoit was almost not there. Like, CTE ate it so much that it wasn't there. So, like, I mean, like,
I believe they said he had a brain of like an 80-year-old man.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the same thing with Aaron Hernandez, the Patriots tight end who died in jail. And I mean, same thing. He'd been playing football since he was like 15. So, like, I mean, again, I'm no expert. I'm no doctor, but pain meds, man. We gotta do something else. But to change to another subject, Brian Pillman is great. Let's go to the back.
Yeah, Brian Pillman, we love you, Brian Pillman Jr. Expect to see great things from you. And
he's so good. He's so good.
He's really good. And we're not just saying that because he's like his dad kid. Like Brian Pillman Jr. Like he. Okay, before we get to the Nick Gage thing, we'll get to it in a second. I just want to talk very, very quickly. Yeah, like, you read on Twitter, you never actually go on Twitter. It's a terrible thing to do. but no. But I'm on Twitter and I'm looking at like all these tweets after Dark Side of the Ring, and it's just like, oh my God, Brian Pillman Jr. He's just like, mooching off of his dad's name and blah blah blah, and he hasn't earned his name, Brian Pillman Jr. I'm like, dude. That's his name. That's literally his name, Brian.
Exactly.
Pillman Jr.
Like, what do you mean?
like he's the son of Brian Pillman, and Brian Pillman chose to name him Brian Pillman Jr. because you know what? Brian Pillman Jr. never needed to be a wrestler. Brian Pillman Jr. is going to be Brian Pillman Jr. regardless of whatever he was doing, right?
Right.
But people like to be like, oh my God, like he needs to earn that name. Like, what? Stop it.
Like, if you really look at the kid, he's never, and like I said, he has never really openly mentioned or wore anything that has to do with his dad. Mm. Tonight was the very first time I've ever seen him wear anything that had his dad's name on it. Like every other time, it was like it actually matched his Garrison's wear, and it was just all that. Today, if you looked at his trunks, it had Brian Pillman's name on it. And it wasn't Brian Pillman, the Ticket Time. It was flying Brian Pillman. Yeah. Like, it was, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's his dad. It's not something that he wasn't adopted. You know what I mean? Like,
he's not, what's his name? Justin,
not credible, right?
the American Alpha dude. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Oh my God! Did we both blank on it?
We did. We're old.
Oh my God! I'm sorry, but he's not Kurt Angle's son in the storyline. He's not like He's actually Brian Pillman's son. That's actually his name. And you know what? If Brian Pillman Jr. wants to go out there, wear his dad's tights, wear his dad's jacket, wear his hair like a mullet, call himself Flying Brian Jr., go ahead, do it. You know why? Because it was his dad's name, and I promise you, there's nobody in the world his dad would rather have that name carried on to than Brian Pillman Jr. Like that's a non. You don't even need to think about it. So, like, people just need to stop complaining about it. I think it's a non-issue where I see it.
Totally
good. Good talk. Let's talk about this. Dark Side of the Ring this week is going to be premiering an episode on hardcore icon, CZW icon, whatever you want to call him, Nick Gage. I know, Trevor, you have a lot of experience watching his matches. You followed him for a while. What are we expecting from Thursday's Dark Side of the Ring about Nick Gage?
First off, you said his name wrong. Nick fucking Gage, or fucking Nick Gage is what he goes by. And,
okay.
So I've said this many times before. I briefly myself did some backyard wrestling. Guys like him you looked up to, especially like later years. Shit, I mean, if you're a little younger than I am, you also the Young Bucks, guys like that. I mean, they went from the backyard to big time. But Nick Gage is one of those guys. He's been around for a long time. He wrestled John Moxley so many times. Danny Havoc. Guys like that. I can mention thousands of names that Nick Gage has come across. I first saw Nick Gage on a tape of CZW, Tournament of Death. And Nick Gage, my God, like stabbing people in the head with forks, like the light tubes to the face. Like, I mean, it's just like, of course, it's barbaric. And of course, some of these guys have had major injuries, but it's entertaining, unfortunately. It's just really entertaining. I went to a Tournament of Death match back in 2010, around that time, even 09 or 10 or 2010, around that time. And it was in Delaware. It was in the owner of CZW's at that time's backyard.
Was that DJ Hyde or?
Yeah, it was Hyde. It was Hyde's parents' backyard. That piece of shit. It was Hyde's parents' backyard, and he let you know that it was his parents' backyard because he came out to the ring and said, "Hey, you don't be doing this. This is my parents' backyard. Fuck you, whatever." And you can see his parents' house and all that shit. But anyway, Nick wrestled the Tournament of Death, and so he was coming out for the last match. And Nick, he was bloody, but he wasn't as bloody as he was this last match. This last match.
Oh, thank heavens for that.
I know, right? And this last match, I'll never forget because he took a shot like right under his armpit. And anyone that knows anything about the human body, that there are various main blood flows in your body. Two of which are in the inside of your thighs and the inside of your leg, and the other ones are right under your armpits. So if it's hit wrong, you could bleed out. So Nick, unfortunately, was hit wrong, and they had to rush. They canceled the show. They had to because he actually literally like passed out, and they had to rush him to the hospital because he was bleeding out. But I remember right before, like he got on that gurney, got into the ambulance. He also apologized to the fans. Like, come on, dude, you do something that is that dangerous, and you still apologize to your fans. That's the reason we call him Nick fucking Gage. He's one of the best wrestlers. One of those type wrestlers. I won't say he's a great wrestler, but he's a great extreme wrestler, and
right.
One of the reasons I watch CZW. So if you're looking for a roller coaster ride of a documentary, if you're looking for something that is just hard hitting and shocking, watch this. If you're looking for something that's super wholesome and loving, go fuck yourself. You're not gonna get it here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not personally like familiar with a lot of Nick Gage because I never really watched a lot of CZW. Wasn't really exposed to a lot of that. But from what I do know is that from what I've heard, at least he's a modern day hardcore icon, and also like many people in wrestling. So this is not a disparaging remark. Freaking crazy. Also, like many wrestling fans, freaking crazy. But
absolutely nuts.
but I'm sure it's gonna be a hell of a story. I cannot wait to watch that on Thursday night on ViceTV.com.
Him and John Moxley had some. Just to put a bow on it. Him and John Moxley had some great matches. Yeah. Him and John Moxley will probably. They also called them the father and grandfather of death matches. Like they have done a lot of crazy shit. Fans, watch it. If you're a fan of them, definitely watch it. It's going to be interesting. I'll be watching.
They got Moxley for the documentary, so it's going to be really
interesting. That's going to be very good. Very good.
Yeah. All right. All right. Let's get to it. Fan
question
of the week. So every week we get a fan-submitted question from one of you wonderful marks that we love. And, feel free to send your questions in, by the way, on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube comments, wherever. Everyone so far has been sending them in on realtakesportstalk@gmail.com. Again, realtakesportstalk@gmail.com. Any questions you have, put them in the chat too. If you got questions, put them in the chat. We'll answer those as well. This week's fan question, Trevor. This week's fan question comes again from Jamie. And Jamie says, what is your hottest pro wrestling take ever?
And we talked about this earlier. I guess it's on how you interpret it. You know what? I always go first. I'll let you go first this time.
Okay. Well, I have scorching hot take that everyone's going to probably shit on me on, but I don't care. Okay. So
when have you ever cared?
Not really ever. Not really ever. So for my hottest take in pro wrestling ever, my hottest take in pro wrestling history is that Mordecai, also known as Kevin Thorne or Kevin Vampire Dude, but the gimmick he had in 2004, Mordecai, would have been a multi-time world champion, rocket to the moon, like perfect all-time antithesis for Undertaker, and even bigger than Kane. And I know that's a scorching hot take, and I understand why people would disagree with that, but the way they built that gimmick up,
I forgot about Mordecai. I really did.
Everyone did, and so did WWE. That's why he, didn't. That's why he, came out as Kevin Thorne, Kevin Vampire Dude, like 2 years later. But Mordecai, the gimmick Mordecai was perfect. It was literally a gimmick made for the Undertaker, but it was the way Mordecai brought it up and the way that it was portrayed as this like zealot, as this like, he essentially was the Antichrist, portraying himself as the savior of the masses, portraying himself as this almost anti-Undertaker, I don't want to say, but like, man, it was perfect, and his promos were so good. Go back and watch those promos he did. He said he's on a crusade to rid the world of sin. Like, dude, Kevin Thorne was cutting amazing promos in 2004.
He really was.
The look was amazing. Everything was perfect. And in the in-ring, was he the best? No. Was Undertaker ever a great wrestler? Like, especially early on when he was doing the zombie taker, big boot, statue zombie. No, but Mordecai was amazing at, doing what he needed to do in the ring, and he could have gotten better. He was younger then. But the promos he cut and the reaction that he got from the audience was amazing. I don't know what happened. Apparently it was they sent it back down to OVW because of his involvement in a bar fight, but which I'm just like, considering some of the dumb stuff that other wrestlers have done and then gotten pushed to the moon,
that's like, so small.
Especially this was a gimmick made for the Undertaker, and like this could have gone into so many different directions. You could have gone like, he could have been like the Undertaker Raw or whatever. Like, there's a lot of places this could have gone to. And I legitimately believe the promos were like A1. Like anyone go watch those promos. A1 promos, A1 vignettes, like the lines he's doing. He's like quoting the Bible, and he's getting this amazing like reaction from the audience. And his in-ring work is actually pretty fine. It's fine. It would have gotten better. And I think over time, he would have been, as The Undertaker kind of takes a step back, he could have gotten into that light. And the best part about it was that Kevin Fertig, the guy who played Mordecai, this was his idea. Like, he went to Vince McMahon with this idea of a religious character. So, I mean, look, it is what it is. It is what it is now. But I'm just saying, man, like that character that had a lot of potential. Mordecai would have been, yes, a multi-time world champion. He had staying power, not just a gimmick, but him as a performer had staying power. And then they put him as Kevin Thorne, where he never cut a promo. Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, what is he doing now, you know?
Last time I checked, he was doing like some runs in Mexico. This was like back in like 2016 or something. I don't know what he's doing now.
So this one is probably going to be another one of those that is highly disagreed with. But again, I don't give two shits. I think that the world was cheated of something special when Draws got hurt.
Mm.
I think Draws, if you don't know who Draws was a wrestler that the main thing that Vince McMahon, the greatest, whatever you want to call him, you fucking WWE stands. The main reason he got him was because he could throw up on cue.
Oh, he's gonna puke. He's gonna puke. Believe
it or not, his name was going to be Puke. His name was actually going to be Puke at first. But
Vince McMahon is such a child at heart.
He fucking is, dude. He's such a fucking child. But Draws, if you ever saw Draws in the ring, he had technique, he had skill. Like, just watch some of those LOD 2000 matches where he was with Animal. Like, he actually could wrestle. Unfortunately, he broke his neck and was fucking paralyzed for the rest of his life. But we were cheated. As wrestling fans, we were cheated to something that could have been fantastic. Now, that's my hot take. You don't have to agree. That's fine. But that's my hot take. I've seen a couple of his matches outside of WWE, and he did great work. Like, you saw a young talent. He was a strong guy. He was good size. Like, he had great stamina in the tank. Like, I've seen him put on some great matches, especially with LOD 2000. I mean, I think the main reason everyone looked at him was because Sonny was with him, but fuck Sonny.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, true. You leave Chris Candido's wife alone, and that's another guy who I love. But
don't tell me. Tell that to Shawn Michaels.
Dear God.
My God.
You will not disrespect a truth about my man Shawn Michaels. Anyway, but it was true. But no, like that's my hot take. I really like Draws. I bet most people thought I was gonna say something about Sean O'Hare, but no, I was not this time.
Another gimmick, perfect, tailor-made for the Undertaker. That could have gone somewhere special that you were just like, goddamn, pal. No. Like, it is what it is, though. I actually agree with you, though, about the Draws thing. I think he had a lot of potential.
Yeah, I definitely do. Like, I mean, again, you could have gone so many places. Actually, you mentioned Sonny. You could have said a lot about Chris Candido, too, in his WWE run. Like, I mean, his WWF run. Like, I mean, yeah, he did have a couple belts. I mean, and when you bought Zip for the body down, skipping Zip. First off, body down is a terrible gimmick. But, I mean, but when you brought him in, they had tag team gold, but like Chris Candido was so, like, he was so much more. I actually love Chris Candido. Another one of those wrestlers I liked. He was such a good talent, man. And unfortunately, he died before his prime. I thought,
Another hot take that I have, and we'll move away from this in a minute. I thought that Nick Saban is arguably like the most underutilized champion or person TNA had. So much
totally
potential.
agree. I totally agree. Nick Saban was good. I like Nick Saban a lot. And honestly, I felt, and this ain't a hot take. This is just obvious. I felt like TNA ruined the Motor City Machine Guns.
Agreed. Ooh, sorry about that. I had to do my Larry Zbysko wave to the other side. Oh no, I was getting something from the other side of the room, but I agree with that. All right, let's move on because I know we gotta go home soon, brother. Hot dog.
Let's take our time.
I mean we don't need to take that much time with this one. But
Jesus
let's
Christ.
let's just talk about it. All right, so actually, hold up. Let's. I want to talk about something else first before we get to this.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. We're just going to jump into this?
Yeah. Here we go. Brother. WrestleMania Backlash. WrestleMania Backlash is airing live on Peacock this Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, whatever time zone you're in, brother. It's called WrestleMania Backlash instead of, the regularly scheduled WWE Backlash, which has been called since the year 2000. But they chose to name it WrestleMania, Backlash. What do you think about this, Trevor? Just the name in general. And what does it say?
Know why they're calling it that?
You want me to be honest? You want me? Let everyone in on my
please.
theory.
Tell us your theory. Omar San.
I promise you. They were having a meeting, and Vince McMahon is like, "All right, pal, we got WrestleMania booked. What's next?" It's like, "All right, Vince, we got." This is me doing a terrible Bruce Pritchard. How about this? I'll do my Bruce Pritchard impersonation as him as Brother Love. I feel like that'll make. So Vince is like, "All right, goddamn pal, we rolled out WrestleMania. What's next?" How, Vince? Next, Vince, we gotta have Backlash, And then and Vince was like, "Goddamn pal, Backlash. Where's it gonna be? In the Thunderdome." And Vince, in his all wisdom's like, "Oh, damn pal, we gotta have something extra. Last year we had the horror show at Extreme Rules. This year we have to have Backlash. Has gotta be bigger, better than ever. It's gotta be WrestleMania Backlash."
This just in: Real Takes Sports gets sued by Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Oh my god, it was just Anyway, but I promise you, it was like something like that. They just want to carry over the WrestleMania thing, and then that's it. It's.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you're like, why are you trying to milk everything out of it? You know what I mean? It's just WrestleMania is WrestleMania. You get what I mean? Why can't Backlash be Backlash? It's just dumb. It's just so dumb.
Yeah. 1 second. Send a message.
No, you can't do that.
Oh, goddamn pal. I'm the producer. I can do whatever I want.
You finally pulled that card.
All right. So, WrestleMania Backlash this Sunday. One of the matches on tap for WrestleMania Backlash is a lumberjack match between Damian Preist and The Miz. We saw what Damian Preist and The Miz did in their tag team match. Damian Priest, of course, teamed with Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny had that great showing WrestleMania. Miz, of course, with his teammate John Morrison. And it's basically a carryover match. There's going to be nowhere for Miz to run, nowhere to hide on some Triple H stuff. What do we think about this match? Who do you think should win? Who do you think is going to win? And why are they even having this match?
Yeah, that was the question I was about to ask you. Do we really care at this point? Yeah, don't get me wrong, I love Damian Priest. I do. I enjoy Damian Priest a lot, but unfortunately, I think he's taking the route of Keith Lee and gonna be no longer seen. Like I feel like he was doing such good work in NXT, and now he's going to the main roster and doing absolutely shit. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. This match and it's gonna sound funny to anyone listening, unless you saw WrestleMania. I feel like his best match in Raw history was probably when he was tagging with Bad Bunny, and not saying he was bad in that match because he wasn't, but it was because of Bad Bunny. It wasn't because of him. It was because of Bad Bunny.
Yeah, I think what we saw. So a lot of people at WrestleMania, us included, I think, expected the WrestleMania match to be kind of the Damian Priest show, like a big showcase
Right.
for
Right.
Damian Priest to really come out and show people what he does, his moveset, and how cool he is, and how he's a badass, and it's be his big coming out party. That didn't happen, and hey, Bad Bunny did great. I think this is probably what this match is gonna be. And The Miz is a good person to have it with.
He is.
Lumberjack match, nowhere to run for Miz. It's gonna be interesting. Hopefully, WWE pay-per-views have been somewhat entertaining recently. So again, giving them the benefit of the doubt, they've been relatively short. If you're gonna ask who's gonna win, it's gonna be Damian Priest. It's a lumberjack match. Who should win? It should be Damian Priest.
So here another thing I'll throw at you. Who really cares about lumberjack matches nowadays? Like I feel like lumberjack matches are one of those things that just kind of fell by the wayside. I mean, I don't really think they were that great to begin with, but like it's just one of those things. You're like, oh, a lumberjack match, yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of those like the dark match before Mania vibes for lumberjack matches, isn't it? So, that's like the big feeling about lumberjack matches, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about all we can say about this match. We're not even going to talk about the tag title match. That is just good luck to Rey and Domonik Mysterio. They might become the first father-son tag team champions.
You're not interested in the tag team match?
No, that's a bigger waste of time talking about this Miz Damian Priest match. You know what's not a waste of time though? Talking about the BEST of WWE, Bianca Belair defending her newly won WWE SmackDown Women's Championship against a former SmackDown and Raw Women's Champion in Bayley. They're set to go head-to-head for the title, and, this is going to be an interesting match, I think. Bayley shows a different kind of dynamic, I think, with Bianca Belair. It's going to be a lot more interesting to see how she goes up against her because, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair was really able to, like, lift her up. It was, because she's a more petite performer. Bayley's a lot stronger out there, a lot stronger of a worker. Bayley's has a lot of emotional matches as well. His storytelling is usually very good in her matches. I think it's going to be like a bit of a step up and more experience for Bianca Belair to get under her belt. I'm excited to see this match because Bianca Belair has been money, honestly, on SmackDown. So who do you think is going to win? What do you think about this match, and who should win?
I think this is going to be a good match, like you said before. I think it's going to be a good test because Bayley is a bigger performer and a lot stronger. Bayley's a hell of an athlete, and I've loved the work that Bayley has done prior to the pandemic, prior to losing her belt to Sasha Banks. I honestly believe Bayley has been a strong champion. Bayley has been a believable champion. Like when her and the man Becky have been like champions, I think that's been money. Like I liked when Becky Lynch and Bayley were both like champions. I enjoyed watching the women's division matches because they were both wrestling. And I think Bianca Belair, this is going to be again her biggest test, but I think their styles mesh up very well. I think this is going to be a very entertaining match. Those of you that don't think so, this is not the Asuka, Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte Flair match. So don't be so judgmental. But I think this is going to be a very good match. And I say Bianca Belair wins this match. If Bianca Belair does not win this match, Ooh, there's gonna be a lot. Like my grandmother used to say, there's gonna be some smoke in the city.
If Bianca Belair does not win this match, be sure to tune in next Tuesday to Real Takeoff to hear Trevor blow a gasket.
Yes, like honestly, I don't. Yeah, I don't see her losing this match.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was later down the line, maybe, but not her first title defense.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a very good test for her. I think it's going to be a good match. Bayley is a great worker. Bianca Belair is showing she's also a great worker. SmackDown in general, the wrestling has been better. The storytelling has been better. The entire show has been better. The performance has been better. Everything has been better about SmackDown. So I'm expecting a lot, and I think I'm going to at least this match is going to meet or even exceed my expectations because these are two world-class performers. And yeah, it's too early for Bianca Belair to lose a title. Like, I want to see her win a lot. I just want to see her
I
win.
think a lot of people want to see her win.
Yeah, she's just awesome.
Because like I said before, I've said this many times. Like, she's one of those people. Like, honestly, she's too sweet to even picture her as like a menacing force. You know what I mean? She's so adorable. You just want to see her do good things. And she's so genuine. You want to see her do good things. And I don't honestly believe that, even though Vince is a dickhead, so it could be something he would do, but I think it's too early. I honestly think it's too early.
Great babyface sympathy. Like, she already has that. Imagine if she gets screwed out of the title, how much sympathy she'd get from that. Hey, man, I'm just saying. It's possible.
You're right.
But
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, and it makes SmackDown ratings go up even higher. But, I mean, like, even if they did that, she wins the belt back next time they wrestle.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I mean, because Drew did the same thing with Randy Orton.
Yeah. I don't know. I also don't like hopscotching the title like that. That's a weird.
Either, though.
I don't like that. Anyway,
for
moving on. In a triple threat match for the WWE Raw Women's Championship is going to be Rhea Ripley, the Women's World Champion, facing off against the former champion Asuka and Charlotte Flair, who recently made her return to Monday Night Raw. This is one of two triple threat matches that was booked from the Raw side of things in the main in their main event world title matches. What do we think of this match? What do we think about, Charlotte Flair making her return as a heel, basically beating up Asuka, beating up Ripley, showing her dominance over the women's division? And what do we think the outcome's going to be? Because a lot of indications will tell you, this indicates that Charlotte probably is going to win and hold on to the belt. Like, it's going to be static, like business as usual, Charlotte's champion again. But what do you think?
Unfortunately, I agree with what you just said. You just took what I just said out of my mouth. As much as I love Rhea Ripley, and I think Rhea Ripley is money. I think Rhea Ripley is absolute money. She was a great NXT champion. I like the fact that they gave the belt to Rhea. I love what she does in the ring, but I was just sitting there when she won the belt thinking, like, she's not gonna hold on to that too long, especially since at the time I believe Charlotte wasn't even back at that time, and so it just for some reason WWE takes a wrestler and they take a wrestler that either had ties in WWE or that has some tie to WWE, and they run with them. And they've been running with Charlotte for a very long time. For a while, Sasha has been a joke of the women's division because she holds the belt and she loses it the next time she defends it. And both times were to Charlotte. Like, you had a great selling match between Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. Oh, you know what's missing? Charlotte. Like, it's just one of those things where, don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on Charlotte. I'm not saying she's a terrible wrestler, because she's not. And she's a draw because basically she's a Flair, one, and two, she puts on a great show. She is a great performer. She works. But is she always needed in the match she's in? Yes, we needed her for Becky. We needed Becky to get over that hump. You need Becky to become the man. I believe wrestling is better off with Becky Lynch being what she is now. But and honestly, I don't think it would have happened without Charlotte Flair. But I just don't see why they push her as much as they do.
You want me to tell you exactly why? And again, Charlotte Flair is A1 performer. She's actually great.
Absolutely.
I think what she's what her character or the image of Charlotte Flair right now is suffering from is possibly a lot of overexposure in the title scene.
Right.
And not that she doesn't deserve to be in the title scene. I just don't think you can have you can't have everybody in the title scene at the same time all the time.
Exactly.
And fun fact, Trevor, if we're ever since the women's title came back, Charlotte Flair is a 9-time women's champion in the WWE. If you count the NXT titles, that elevates her to an 11-time champion.
Yep.
And it makes sense that, they want her to win, to be in the title scene a lot, so she can win, lose the title, so she can beat Ric Flair's record of 16 titles, because he's won like 19, possibly 25, depending on who you ask.
I think it actually is 25. It's very close to 30.
Something like that. He's won. Wrestling in the 70s was wild. But no, so it would make sense. I think Charlotte's gonna win. Like, that's just the way they've indicated it, the way this has gone off. She's gonna win. She's probably gonna pin Asuka, and Asuka's gonna suffer for it. It is what it is. She's probably gonna pin Asuka, and then Rhea Ripley and Charlotte are gonna have a feud for the title going into SummerSlam.
I mean, that makes sense, because they've been using Asuka as a fucking joke for her tenure, pretty much. And it's a goddamn shame. It's a goddamn shame. Like, when she was in NXT, she meant something. And
she won the first Women's Royal Rumble. She won the first Women's Royal Rumble, and it was literally all downhill from there.
That's it.
It was.
She didn't even win the Women's Championship match at WrestleMania against Charlotte Flair.
She lost her streak, and there's a lot. We'll dissect her streak ending in a later thing, but again, I understand, I guess, why WWE wants to go in that direction. It is what it is. I would love to see Rhea Ripley and Asuka have a run, have a program for the title.
But I want to see NXT Asuka. I don't want to see Raw Asuka, because Raw Asuka is a goofy joke. Like, I want to see NXT Asuka. Kick ass names. You know what I mean?
I don't see that coming back right now, especially.
No, I don't think it is, unfortunately. But that's the Asuka that needs to be shown.
All right. Well, moving on, let's talk about the WWE Championship match, which, again, on the Raw side, is a triple threat match. I wonder how do you book 2 triple threat matches for your main titles on the same show? Like that's overbooking. You don't.
I mean, let's be real. No one is. Well, there are some dumb people, but they realize their ratings are suffering. They need something. You know what I mean? They need something.
Just throw them all together, pal.
Throw them all together. Fuck it.
Yeah, but prelude to this match. So Lashley will be taking on Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. He's going to be defending his WWE Championship against these two. Does not have to be pinned to lose the belt. They built this up as, possibly Strowman and Lashley having some sort of an alliance. That got kiboshed on Monday Night Raw this week when Strowman demolished Lashley, throwing him through the guardrail. So Strowman is out for blood. He's out to win the title. Lashley, obviously, is a monster. The almighty Bobby Lashley. And McIntyre. Look, here's the thing. What intrigues me about this matchup the most, and I want to hear your thoughts on this as well, is who's going to take the pinfall in this matchup? Because there's no DQ.
Right.
There's no way to get out of it. Someone has to get pinned or submitted in this matchup. Who are you going to, because, here's the thing, it's only downsides here. Because, it's intriguing to an extent, right? Because it's I would have much rather seen this on a bigger show. I would have much rather seen this kind of match on, a SummerSlam. Because these are 3 legitimate threats who you don't want, it's hard to see any of these guys taking the pin, but on a show like Backlash, I think you're better off, because pay-per-views no one really cares that much about. But I don't know. What do you think about this match? What do you think about the build-up? How it's going to play out? Who should win? Who's going to win?
So here's the thing. Like you said, who's going to take the pin? But you also gotta think about it like this: how have they been using each wrestler? You know, so Bobby Lashley, they gave him the belt, which he deserved. Don't get me wrong, he deserved this belt a long time ago. But you also have Drew McIntyre, who has broke his back, has carried this company, done some shit that he shouldn't have did, taken some losses that he shouldn't have taken, and then you have Braun Strowman, who has been the biggest whipping boy from WWE, like so far. Like the way they use Braun Strowman, like we've said time and time again, is absolutely fucking criminal. He should have beat Brock Lesnar. What they should have done with him was have a feud with Brock Lesnar, that feud that could have lasted a long time, and it culminated at a pay-per-view. But they didn't do that. They didn't do what they should.
Well, you know that was the plan actually. In 2018, he was supposed to at the Greatest Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Right. He was supposed to beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE title, I believe it was. But then in Saudi Arabia. Yep, they changed it. And Roman Reigns, they had a rematch with Roman Reigns. I think it was a steel cage or something. I don't know. Yeah. I never watched those Saudi shows for obvious reasons. But like, you know, it's been hit or miss with him, and every time he gets some momentum around him, it's just like deflation at the end. And I think
that they take it away, and it's just
fans have gotten to the point where, man, like it's kind of like I liken it to like Dolph Ziggler. You know how like it was like this like, you know, game of cat and mouse with Ziggler for a long time with Strowman, right. or it's the same thing with Strowman. You know, Ziggler gets a little bit of a push, and then, you know, they bring him back down to reality, and then like he gets a bit of another push, back down, catches in Money in the Bank, wins the title after WrestleMania. Everyone's hyped, loses it nonchalantly again, and then. You know,
damn whiny person, like
yeah, and then they make him a perennial mid-carder for a few years. Summer Survivor Series 2014, Ziggler gets this like great momentum behind him. He's the last man standing, the sole survivor for Team Cena, and then they job him out for 7 years now straight, and he's perennially in the mid card, and he drops the U.S. title and says, "I'm leaving," and then comes back a month later. Like it's just, they don't know what they're doing with him, and it's a very similar thing with Braun Strowman. It's like a lot of ups and downs, and like I think people at this point, man, they're just exhausted. They're like, I'd rather
they
not.
did the same thing with Cody Rhodes, which is why Cody left. Like, yeah. I mean, it's just they don't know what to do. Like, it's a crime what they're doing with Braun Strowman and what they did with Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler, being a actual collegiate wrestler, redshirt. He was a redshirt freshman. Came on and won the fucking title for his college. Like, it's one of those things. Like they don't know what they do with these wrestlers, and they just, like you said, they keep them mid-card, they job them, they're up and down. It's ridiculous.
My thing is, how does Vince not know what to do with Braun Strowman? Like, he's literally what you want in your like Vince McMahon. He's huge. Like, he's entertaining. He's over. He looks like a monster, like a legitimate monster, and he's entertaining. He can cut promos. Like, he doesn't have to work hard to do it.
Right.
He's just like, and he's over. He was so over. It's like. There are not many people in Braun Strowman's position who could have been as over as he was, like as quickly as he was. It's and they just cut his legs out from under him, and I will never understand why, because it's not a situation where, like, you know, Daniel Bryan got over and they fought it. It wasn't a situation where like Dolph Ziggler or Zack Ryder got over and then they fought it. This was like they booked him to get over. They booked him perfectly. They booked him as this great monster. He was grappling hooks, bringing down the Raw stage on Brock Lesnar, pushing ambulances, lifting up limousines, doing amazing Hulk stuff, and they booked him to be like a mid-carder. Waste of time is what it was.
World's strongest man. Like, I mean, come on. Like,
all right, but yeah, Lashley, Strowman, McIntyre, real quick. Who wins? Who should win? What's up? Lashley. Somehow Lashley's gonna win. Strowman's probably gonna take the pinfall one way or another.
Yeah, unfortunately, and we didn't even mention anything about McIntyre, but yeah.
I'm sorry, Drew. Raw's been tough to watch, man.
It has.
You know what I'm actually excited for, though? Funny enough, another SmackDown match I'm excited for. Yeah, I know, right? Here we go. So this Sunday's Antonio Cesaro has not been his name for a long time.
What the
Uh,
fuck?
this Sunday I almost did it again. This Sunday, Cesaro will be taking on Roman Reigns for Reigns' WWE Universal Championship in Cesaro's first ever one-on-one match for a world title in WWE. It's being booked very heavily as, Cesaro's like his time. We saw that after Daniel Bryan had his career versus title match after he lost to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns came out and did a concerto on Bryan, sending him off. And Cesaro came out to try to defend Bryan's honor, but he was held back. And now he's fighting off the Jimmy Uso's return. Now Jey Uso, and then the Roman Reigns' family is complete. So this is being booked like Cesaro is being booked as like a mega babyface going into this. Roman Reigns, of course, is very strong world champion. And this is a match I'm excited for because look, we've literally never seen Cesaro. All the attention, all the potential we've been saying for years and years, they're finally giving Cesaro a moment. I'm gonna get into a minute why I think it's fleeting and why I think it's probably it's going to be. I think it's going to be a great match. I'm gonna put that out there, but we'll get to how I feel in a minute. But what do you think about this match? The build up. What do you think about how it's going to be executed? What do you think about everything? Who's going to win? Who should win? Blah, blah, blah. Go.
I mean, it's like you said, it's about goddamn time. Cesaro has put on some great matches. Like, I forget who his match was against in NXT. He was already on the main roster, but he came over and did a match.
Sami Zayn.
Was Sami Zayn?
He did a match with Sami Zayn on the first takeover. Yep.
It was amazing. Amazing match. I mean, but again, they both know each other from ROH days.
Allegedly, it's never been proven that El Generico and Sami Zayn are the same person. I will go to my grave.
That is true. It has not.
It's never been proven. He went off to a chicken farm in Mexico. Remember.
That is very true. Unfortunately, but when Cesaro was Casanova over in ROH, and this guy that looked like Sami Zayn was El Generico. But no, like I think Cesaro has needed this for a while. Like he's had a few championships, tag team mostly, but he needs this. How are you gonna have a talent like Cesaro? Like seriously, like I've never seen anyone throw a European uppercut the way he throws it, like ever. I've seen people throw it, but I've never seen people throw it like off the top rope. And he's like, you can't tell me he's actually not knocked somebody out accidentally doing this. You know what I mean? Like some of the things he's done, he's so old school. He's so old school. He's very technical. I mean, he's the only other man I know of right now doing the big swing. Big swing's been done since the 80s. Like he's one of the few people I know doing that. Like it's a shame that a man of his caliber, his talent, has not had a title shot yet. But I honestly believe he has a perfect opponent in Roman Reigns. I think they complement each other very well. And honestly, Roman's ability to carry a match has been incredible here lately. But you have another man that can also carry a match. It's Cesaro. So it's gonna be interesting to watch. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Cesaro has been built up great in this. Because here's the thing, he's not been built up as a coward face, which is like he's never had the opportunity in this spot before, which is like what we're talking about. His first one-on-one match for a world title. This isn't like, oh my God, this could be his first world championship run. No, this is the first time he's ever competed for a world title in WWE. So there's obviously a lot of excitement there. That being said, he's not going to win. And
no, he's not.
He's not. It's fine. It's because Roman Reigns is in the midst of his best run ever, and I do think that it would be better to keep the title on him. And I think they're going to get rid of it, and that's fine. I actually like Roman Reigns as this big time heel, this long-running heel champion. We'll see what happens, but eventually a babyface has to chase him and beat him. I think down the line, Cesaro could be that guy. This is going to be a big test, I think, not for Cesaro and the fans' eyes. The fans already know how great he is. This is going to be a great match, by the way. I think it's going to be a big test for the people in the back. Like, I love you, and goddamn pal. They're gonna. It's gonna be this is gonna be a big thing for them to see, and hopefully they pay attention to the match and see. Oh my God, we had a world champion, literally ready made, that we never went with, but we'll see. Like I said, Roman Reigns is going to win. I think it's going to be like something along the lines of, the Usos get involved and shenanigans, and Roman Reigns, I can and I will. Yeah.
Punch you right in the face.
But it's going to be entertaining. That being said, I hope either this or the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship match is on last. I don't want to see a Raw match on last, because I'm doing a stream. If a Raw match main event, I will turn off the stream. I'm not watching it.
You should. You definitely should. The funny thing is, they're night and day. The products are so different. Like, you literally can see it in the matches. It's so different.
It's a problem, dude, because I'm pretty sure they have the same writing teams. This is a problem. This is an issue. Like this is like you. This shouldn't be happening. Like SmackDown, arguably, honestly, like there's a week SmackDown's like better than AEW. Like and like it's crazy. Like Raw is like, it's just I don't think it's even just the 3 hours. It's something has changed, because Raw used to be like the 3 hour Raws have always been bad, right?
Right.
But it used to be possible. There were some times Raw was even great. Like there were a few episodes of Raw it's great for 3 hours, but it's been like consistently getting worse. It's a huge issue, man. Like that show should not be that bad. Like it
really shouldn't. Like and it started really, really early on too. So I want to say it started when SmackDown was on Tuesdays. Like that's when you considerably noticed it. Like, because SmackDown was the best show by a large margin.
Oh, dude, I think 2016 SmackDown was like just as good as that 2003 brand split SmackDown. Like the SmackDown 6 era, and then the Land of Opportunity, Daniel Bryan GM era. Do amazing times to watch SmackDown.
Absolutely. I mean, and you're like, well, wait a minute. Like, you pretty much you put some good stars on SmackDown, but you pretty much tried to put like outcasts like on SmackDown to not draw attention away from Raw. Like,
but it worked.
And it's still better than you.
Heath Slater and Rhino were the first ever SmackDown Tag Team Champions.
Exactly.
And they were over. He's got kids.
He's got kids. Like, and Rhino was 1,000 years old at the time, and it still worked. Like, it still worked. And like, I mean, like you said, something needs to be done, because like it's something wrong with Raw. And again, it's not just the 3 hours. And I can't necessarily say it's the talent, because they have great talent on Raw. It's just something there.
Dude, it's just like it's weird. I feel like I'm seeing the same segments over and over and over and over again. Yeah. And you know why? Because I'm literally seeing the same people in the same segments over and over again, and I'm also seeing replays of those same people in those segments over and over again. Like it's like you literally, like, if you guys ever record Raw and just like skip past it, like just go through, like buffer it and just see like the little thumbnails that as you're forwarding the show. You will literally see Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, Bobby Lashley like 8 times. You will see Randy Orton a few times, Matt Riddle a few times, AJ Styles and Amos, and that's it. That is all you will see. And then Adnan Varuk's beautiful mug every few times. He's gotten better. He's gotten
you know what? I was gonna mention that.
It's not great. It's not great, but he's getting better. And I think he's getting coached up well. Again, wish him the best. But the show is just not good, man. It's like it doesn't have any energy either. It's just like SmackDown's the A show. SmackDown is the A show. Like, and it's not even cool. Like, Raw is a worse show than NXT. Dude, you know what? Like,
NXT is actually good.
NXT is amazing. NXT is amazing. That's not like to it's not like to say anything bad about NXT. NXT's always been great, but it's just like
right.
NXT's supposed to be your C show, and like your A show is like the A show. It's like the worst.
And what's funny about NXT, a lot of the shows recently haven't been all that great either.
Yeah, a lot of clip shows on NXT lately. A lot of like, but that's fine. I actually like that era of NXT too because it made the matches feel better. It's kind of like you're watching old NWA. But regardless, Raw needs to be
taking it back and shot.
Goddamn palace, 3 hours of ads. Think of the money. 4 hours. When SmackDown switches to 3 hours, that's when I'm done. I'm officially done with WWE.
They probably just need to switch SmackDown with Raw.
Dude,
SmackDown on Mondays.
It's like this. No, I don't want 3 hours of SmackDown. Don't.
No, I want 2 hours of SmackDown, but I just need to switch it to Mondays.
It's just like it's also like it's a very similar thing. Like remember when they did So they changed the pay-per-view formats a while back, and they just recently changed it back, thank God. But during the network era, it was like, all right, and every pay-per-view is going to start at an hour earlier. It's going to be 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
For Fastlane, 4 hours. Who needs 4 hours of Fastlane?
Who needs 2 hours of Fastlane? Like, it's just one.
Oh, watch. They're calling this WrestleMania Backlash, buddy. Wait till after the Royal Rumble. The WrestleMania Roadblock and WrestleMania Fastlane.
WrestleMania SummerSlam. Like, what the fuck?
WrestleMania NXT Takeover Honey Barbecue Chicken Pre-Show. And on that note,
WrestleMania Extreme Rules. Dig
the horror
down dirt, eat potatoes raw.
the horror show at WrestleMania Extreme Rules Backlash Armageddon Honey Chicken Barbecue Cheese
Hulkamania,
Mustard
brother.
Mountain Dew Super Blast Saudi Hogan pre-show.
Brother.
All right.
Bro.
And on that note, we are going to say goodbye. Trevor, thank you for joining again. And make sure you guys.
We doing our last takes, or are we not doing the last takes now?
Oh, do you want to do it? Do you have a last take? Yeah, man. I thought we could run over on time. But hey, so on you, bro. Last take. The last take.
Final takes.
What you guys? The graphics there. Go for it.
Don't tell me what to do. One thing I will mention, we don't talk enough about NXT. I think we don't talk enough about NXT. Have you been keeping up with it lately?
I've been watching the highlights on YouTube. Dude.
You just don't have enough time.
It's difficult. It's difficult. Like I've broke. So here's the thing. Literally, it's because I only have Tuesdays to do this show, and it's hard for me to watch NXT like after this, especially because I'm doing other stuff. I'm editing. I'm getting ready for projects or work I have to do tomorrow. So, but I generally know what's going on. I know Raquel Gonzalez tonight is taking on. I know generally what's going on. Like Mercedes Martinez.
I love what they're doing with Karrion Kross right now. Even though I didn't agree that he should have had the belt, but I love what he's doing right now. You know, and the fact they bring Finn Balor in. And like they're billing him as this monster, and that's cool. But what's his name? Johnny Gargano and the other guy whose name I always forget. They took him down, which was great to see. Like they're doing a lot. I like what they're doing in NXT. And, it's a good show. Definitely a good show.
Yeah, it's also like it's a hindrance that we do this on Tuesday nights, so it's like hard for it's like a hindrance no matter what night we do this on, because like if we do this on a Monday night, actually we wouldn't be missing much with Raw because I think our ratings are just as good as theirs. But Monday night I think you're working and I'm doing sports talk, so I can't do Mondays. And then Tuesdays
and
but then Wednesday I'm watching AEW. Wednesday I gotta watch AEW. And then Fridays I gotta watch SmackDown.
Thursday be beneficial or not?
Thursday I gotta.
Yeah.
No, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
Hey, if you know how you guys can make this a lot easier, go to patreon.com/realtakesports. $2 a month goes a long way to potentially making this a lot easier for both of us to do this on a time. We Yeah, money. No, but
And guys, hit me up on my Twitter. It's TREVER Tainment.
TREVER. Tainment.
Tainment.
Trevor Tainment. Trevor Tainment. All right. Well. This has been very Trevor-taining.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, you did. It's been a fun time as always. Trevor, any last thoughts? Any parting words?
Keep those questions coming, guys. I honestly enjoy them. I really, really, really do. This is so much fun for me. Like I know Omer loves it too. Like it's a lot of fun, guys. And it just shows how much we've grown for the past when I first started doing this with him. Like it's a lot of fun.
You want to know that we had another fan question this week. We don't have to answer it, but you want to know what it was?
Yeah, what was it?
Do you guys think Eugene could be over in 2021?
Wow.
I will answer that very bluntly with a big fat no.
No.
No. And I think we'll leave it at that. So for Trevor-tainment, follow him TREVER Tainment on Twitter. For me, Omar Qureshi, follow us at Real Take Sports on Twitter. Also, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel for daily videos. We're going to be doing a stream for WWE WrestleMania Honey Mustard Barbecue Backlash this Sunday at 7 p.m. So join me for that. Also join me for a bunch of other stuff. Real Take Sports Talk on Mondays. Daily videos on a lot of different topics. Got a very special Sports Revisited coming up next week. Not about wrestling, but about something else that has to do with sports. I think you guys will find very, very entertaining.
I'm intrigued.
I'm done. Well, there you go. Yeah, Johnny G is back, by the way, on the Sports Talk show. A lot of people wanted him back because they hated me hosting shows. So a lot easier for me. But we'll see where that goes. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.
Peace.